The evening sky burned with the colors of fading light. Orange clouds stretched over the small countryside house where John sat quietly on his porch. The wooden chair beneath him creaked softly as the wind whispered through the dry leaves. His hands, wrinkled and rough from years of labor, rested on his knees. He watched the sun go down, the same way he did every day, alone, waiting for someone who rarely came. John had once been a strong man. He had built this house himself when his daughter, Lily, was just a little girl. He remembered her laughter echoing through these walls and soft musical full of life. She used to run barefoot through the grass calling, "Daddy, look, I caught a butterfly." He would laugh, lift her in his arms, and tell her she was his greatest treasure. Back then, life was simple. It was full of small joys, full of love. But time had a way of changing things, even love. Lily grew up fast, chasing dreams bigger than this little house. She moved to the city, studied hard, and built a life of her own. At first, she called him every night, sharing stories about her new job, her friends, her future. John would listen proudly, smiling through the loneliness. But slowly, those calls became shorter. Then they stopped. He told himself she was just busy. That's what daughters did. They grew, they lived, they forgot for a while. But deep down it hurt. Every empty weekend, every birthday missed, every unanswered call. It carved a small hollow inside his heart. He would often stare at her photographs hanging on the wall. In them she looked happy, glowing with confidence. He was proud, yes, but there was also an ache. He missed being needed. He missed being her hero. The neighbors sometimes came by, bringing food or talking about their own children. They would say things like, "Lily must be doing so well. You must be proud." And John would smile politely, pretending to be happy, pretending the silence of his phone didn't echo in his heart. He tried to fill the days with little routines, watering the plants, feeding the stray cat, cleaning the porch. But each night ended the same way. Him sitting on that old chair staring at the stars, whispering softly, "Good night, my girl." He never told anyone how much he missed her. He didn't want to sound weak. After all, fathers were supposed to be strong. Fathers didn't cry, at least that's what he believed. But sometimes, when the memories got too heavy, he would sit by her old room, open the door, and breathe in the faint scent of her childhood. The toys on the shelf were covered in dust. The bed was neatly made, as if waiting for her to come back. He would stand there for minutes, frozen in silence, as if time might turn back if he waited long enough. One night, as rain began to fall, he whispered, "Maybe tomorrow she'll call." But tomorrow came and went, and the phone stayed silent. John had given everything for his daughter, and his youth, his energy, his dreams. He never asked for much in return, only love, only a little space in her heart. But now he wasn't sure if that space still existed. Sometimes, when the loneliness grew too loud, he wondered if she even remembered him. Did she ever think of the man who had carried her to school under the rain? The man who had worked double shifts just to buy her that piano she wanted so badly? He shook his head, trying to chase away the thought. Parents weren't supposed to expect gratitude. Love was supposed to be unconditional. But even unconditional love can ache when it is forgotten. As the night deepened, John leaned back, eyes heavy with years of waiting. The stars blurred behind a thin film of tears he refused to let fall. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled softly. He closed his eyes and whispered to the wind, "I miss you, Lily." The wind carried his voice away, far, far into the silent night, toward a daughter who had forgotten how much her father's heart still beat for her. The next morning the air smelled of rain. Clouds gathered low over the small town as John swept the porch, humming an old song under his breath. His movements were slow but steady, like a man who had learned to live with silence. Suddenly he heard the familiar crunch of tires on the gravel road. His broom froze midair. A silver car stopped in front of the gate. For a moment his heart jumped. His old eyes blinked twice, hardly believing what they saw. The door opened and a young woman stepped out, tall, graceful, confident. It was Lily, his Lily. John's lips parted in surprise and joy. "Lily?" he whispered. She adjusted her handbag and closed the car door with a sharp thud. "Hi, Dad," she said quickly, her tone flat. She didn't smile. Her voice carried no warmth, but to John even those two words were enough to make his heart swell. He hurried to the gate, wiping his hands nervously on his worn shirt. "Oh, my dear girl, you came. I was just thinking about you this morning." Lily nodded, stepping past him into the house. She looked around as if everything had changed, as if she were walking into a stranger's home. The furniture looked old, the curtains faded, the floor creaked under her heels. "You haven't changed anything," she said quietly. John laughed softly. "I didn't have the heart to. Everything reminds me of you." But Lily didn't respond. Her eyes were distant, almost impatient. She sat down on the old sofa, crossing her legs. John stood beside her awkwardly. "Would you like some tea? I can make it just the way you liked." "Dad," she interrupted. "I didn't come for tea." Her voice carried a seriousness that made him stop. He slowly sat down across from her. "Oh, then, what brings you here, sweetheart?" Lily hesitated for a moment, then sighed. "I need your help." "Financial help?" John blinked. "Money?" "Yes," she said, straight to the point. "I'm starting a business. I've been working hard, but I need more capital. I know you have savings, and I thought maybe you could help me out." John leaned back, processing her words. He felt a small sting in his chest. Not because she asked for money, but because that was the first thing she had said to him after months of silence. Not a "how are you?" Not even a hug. He tried to smile. "Lily, you know I'd help you if I could. But I'm not as strong as I used to be. The doctor says I need to take care of my health now. Those savings, they're mostly for my medicines, hospital visits, and..." Her expression darkened. "Dad, you're not dying tomorrow. Why can't you use it for something useful? I'm your daughter. Don't you trust me?" "Of course I trust you," John said softly. But what?" she snapped. "You think I'll waste it? You think I don't know how hard you worked? I do. That's why I want to make something big, Dad. Don't you want to see me succeed?" John's voice trembled. "I do, Lily, more than anything. But success doesn't come from money alone. It comes from patience, from care, from..." She cut him off sharply. "Stop with your lectures. You've spent your whole life being careful, and where did that get you? This old broken house?" The words hit him like stones. For a moment, silence filled the room. The ticking of the wall clock grew louder. John looked down at his trembling hands. He felt small, smaller than he ever had before. Lily sighed, running her fingers through her hair. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sound harsh. I just need your support. Please, Dad." John looked at her face, so beautiful, so full of the same determination her mother once had. He could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the pride, the fear of failure hiding behind her anger. He nodded slowly. "Let me think about it, my dear. I promise I will." Lily stood, checking her phone. "Fine, I'll come back in a few days. Please, Dad, don't take too long. Time is important." She walked to the door, her heels clicking on the wooden floor. John followed her to the porch. "It's always important," he said quietly, watching her drive away. As the car disappeared down the road, the house fell silent again. The faint smell of her perfume lingered in the air, sweet but fading fast. John sat back on the porch looking at the empty path, his eyes glistening. For a brief moment she had come back. But she hadn't come for him. She had come for his money, and somehow that hurt more than if she had never come at all. 3 days passed after Lily's visit. The house felt different now, quieter, colder. John tried not to think about the things she had said, but her words had already settled deep inside him. He moved through the rooms like a shadow, lost in thought. Every time he looked at her old photographs, a strange ache filled his chest. He wondered if he had done something wrong as a father. On the 4th evening, when the sky turned gray with clouds, John heard the sound of a car again. His heart lifted for a moment. He rushed to the door, hoping maybe this time she had come just to see him. Not for money. Lily stepped out of the car looking beautiful yet distant. Her phone was in her hand and she seemed to be finishing a call. Yes, I'll get it soon, she said quickly before hanging up. Lily, John greeted her softly. You came back. Yes, she said, walking straight inside. I hope you've thought about it. John followed her slowly. I have, sweetheart. I've been thinking day and night. I know you want to start something of your own and I'm proud of your ambition. But I also have to be honest, I can't give you everything I've saved. My health, Lily groaned loudly, interrupting him. Oh, Dad, not again. Every time I come here you talk about your health and your past. You always make excuses. He looked down, his voice gentle. They're not excuses, Lily, I'm getting old. I can't work anymore. The medicine bills are heavy. I just need a little security in case. She slammed her hand on the table. You think your medicine is more important than my future? You think dying slowly here in this empty house is better than helping me build something meaningful? Lily, he whispered, eyes soft with pain. You don't understand. I want to help you, but not by losing everything. Her face hardened. You're unbelievable. All my life you've been afraid to take risks. That's why you never became successful. You wasted your years being careful and poor. John felt something inside him break. His heart ached at the tone, not because of her words, but because of the anger behind them. He wanted to hold her, to tell her he only ever wanted her to be happy. But she didn't give him the chance. You know what, Dad? She continued, her voice sharp as glass. Mom left because of this same weakness. She said you were too scared to dream, too small-minded to grow. And she was right. You're still the same, weak and stuck in your small world. The room fell into heavy silence. The rain outside began to fall harder, as if the sky itself couldn't bear to hear her words. John stood completely still, his face pale. His lips trembled, but no words came out. Those words, Mom left because of you, echoed in his ears like thunder. He remembered the day his wife had walked out years ago. She had been tired of their simple life, tired of the small dreams he offered. He had watched her leave with tears in his eyes, holding a young Lily in his arms, promising her that he'd always stay. He had kept that promise. He had given his everything to raise her, and now the same daughter, the one he loved more than anything, was repeating those painful words. Lily looked at him, her expression softer for a second. Maybe she realized she had gone too far, but she didn't apologize. She just sighed and said, I'll come back later when you're ready to help me. Please think about it. John didn't reply. He couldn't. His voice was trapped somewhere deep in his chest. She turned and left, her heels echoing through the hallway, her perfume trailing behind like a ghost. When the car engine roared to life and faded away, John finally sank into his chair. The house was silent again, except for the ticking of the old wall clock. He stared at the floor, tears slipping down his cheeks silently. He didn't sob. He didn't speak. He just sat there, a broken father listening to the storm outside. The rain kept falling, tapping softly on the window as if trying to comfort him. But nothing could heal the wound her words had left. For the first time in years, John felt truly alone. Not because his daughter had left, but because she had taken his heart with her when she did. He closed his eyes, whispering to the empty room. Weak. Maybe I am. But I gave her all my strength once, and the rain fell harder, hiding the tears of a father whose love had just been torn apart by the very child he had raised with every beat of his heart. After that night, the house fell into a silence that felt heavier than ever before. The walls seemed to carry the echo of Lily's angry words. Every corner of the house reminded John of her voice, sharp, cold, and full of disappointment. He didn't sleep much anymore. When he closed his eyes, he heard her shouting again, You're weak. Mom left because of you. Those words didn't just hurt. They broke something deep inside him, something that had always believed love could never fade. Days passed slowly. The morning sun would rise and pour through the dusty windows, but it couldn't warm the emptiness in the house. John still woke up early, made his tea, and sat by the porch like always. But the sweetness of his old routine was gone. Even the birds that once chirped happily seemed quieter now. Sometimes he picked up the phone, thinking of calling Lily. But he never pressed the buttons. What would he say? That he forgave her? That he missed her? Or that her words still cut through his heart like glass? He spent his afternoons cleaning her old room, touching her childhood things. The little teddy bear she used to hug at night, the tiny shoes she once wore, the ribbons she had left in a box. All of them told stories of love, laughter, and innocence. He held the bear close for a moment and whispered, "Where did that little girl go?" The answer, of course, never came. Sometimes at night he sat near the window watching the lights flicker in the distance. The rain would fall softly, just like the night she had left. He would close his eyes and imagine her voice again, the soft, kind tone from her childhood days. "I love you, Daddy." But when he opened his eyes, there was only silence. The pain was quiet but deep. It wasn't anger he felt toward Lily, it was sorrow. He understood that she was lost in her world, chasing dreams and success. Maybe she didn't mean to hurt him. Maybe she was just too blind to see what her words had done. But even understanding didn't make the hurt fade. Love, he realized, could be both the greatest gift and the heaviest burden. One afternoon, as he was watering the small garden, his old neighbor, Mrs. Adams, came by. She was a kind woman, always checking on him. "John," she said softly, "you look tired, dear. Everything all right?" He smiled weakly. "Just a little tired, that's all. She still hasn't called, has she?" He shook his head. "No, but that's okay. She's busy. Young people have their lives to live." Mrs. Adams sighed. "You gave her everything, John. Don't forget to keep something for yourself." He nodded but didn't answer. After she left, he stood by the flowers, staring at them quietly. Some were blooming beautifully, others had withered. Life, he thought, was just like that. Some moments stayed bright, others faded, but all were part of the same garden. That night, John took out an old notebook from his drawer. It was filled with memories. Small notes he had written over the years, things he wanted to tell Lily. He opened to a blank page and began to write with his shaky hand. "My dear daughter, you said I was weak. Maybe you're right. But every weakness you see in me was made from love. I chose peace over pride, forgiveness over anger, and care over comfort. If that is weakness, then I don't wish to be strong." Tears fell on the page, making the ink blur. He didn't wipe them away. He placed the notebook on the table and whispered into the quiet air, "I just hope one day you'll understand." As the night deepened, the soft ticking of the clock filled the room. John leaned back in his chair and looked toward the ceiling. The loneliness still hurt, but something inside him began to shift. A calmness, a strange acceptance. He realized he couldn't live waiting for her apology. He couldn't spend the rest of his days drowning in sadness. If Lily couldn't see his love, he would show it to the world in another way. The next morning, as the first light entered through the window, John made a silent promise to himself. He would not let bitterness take his heart. He would live his remaining days with kindness, not to prove her wrong, but to keep his love alive in a different way. And though the house was still empty, there was something new in his eyes, a quiet strength born not from anger, but from the courage to forgive. The morning sun broke through the curtains, spilling golden light into the old living room. John sat quietly by the table, his cup of tea untouched. His eyes were fixed on the notebook he had written in last night, the one where his tears had smudged his words. For the first time in weeks, his heart felt strangely calm. He had spent so many years living for others, for his wife, for his daughter, always giving, always sacrificing. And now, when he looked around, he realized he had given everything but himself. There was nothing left inside him but love that had nowhere to go. As the clock ticked softly, he whispered to himself, "It's time to do something right. Something good." That afternoon he dressed in his cleanest shirt, the one Lily had gifted him years ago. It was a little tight now, but he smiled anyway. He combed his white hair, took his walking stick, and locked the door behind him. His steps were slow, but his heart was steady. He walked to the small local bank, the same bank where he had deposited his life savings for decades. The teller, a kind young man, greeted him with a smile. "Good morning, Mr. John. How can I help you today?" John smiled faintly. "I'd like to withdraw everything from my account." The teller blinked in surprise. "Everything? Are you sure, sir?" John nodded. "Yes, son. Every penny." The teller hesitated. "Is everything all right? Do you want to transfer it somewhere else?" John chuckled softly. "No, I'm just changing where I'll keep it." Within an hour, he walked out of the bank with an envelope full of cash. The weight in his pocket was heavy, but the weight in his heart felt lighter than it had in years. He knew exactly where he was going next. A few streets away stood an old building. Its walls cracked, its sign faded. It was the local orphanage. He had passed it many times before, but never gone inside. Today, something inside him pulled him there. When he entered, the children looked up from their play. Some were drawing, others playing with old toys. Their clothes were worn, but their smiles were bright. A woman, probably the caretaker, approached him with curiosity. "Good afternoon, sir," she greeted kindly. "Can I help you?" John looked around at the children. "Actually," he said softly, "I think I'm the one who wants to help." The woman frowned slightly. "Help in what way?" He placed the envelope on the table between them. "I want to donate this to the children, for books, clothes, food, whatever they need. It's not much, but maybe it can make a few smiles brighter." The woman gasped, opening the envelope slightly. "Sir, this is a lot of money." "Are you sure?" John smiled, eyes glistening. "I've never been more sure. I saved it thinking it would protect my future, but maybe it was meant to protect theirs." She placed a hand on her heart. "God bless you, sir. These children will never forget your kindness." The children gathered around, curious and cheerful. One little boy tugged at his sleeve and asked, "Mister, why are you giving your money to us?" John knelt down slowly and looked into the boy's innocent eyes. "Because love shouldn't stay locked away, my child. It should be shared." The boy smiled widely and hugged him tightly. In that small, innocent embrace, John felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real peace. As the sun began to set, he walked back home with a lighter heart. The air felt fresher, the world somehow brighter. For the first time, he didn't feel empty. He had given away his money, but in return, he had received something far more valuable. The feeling of being useful again. When he reached home, he sat down and wrote a small note for Lily. His hands trembled slightly as he wrote, but his heart was steady. "My dear Lily, I wanted to help you, but not with money. I wanted to help you see that love is not about what we take, it's about what we give. I hope one day you'll understand. Dad." He taped the note to the door, smiled softly and whispered, "I hope this reaches her heart." That night, as he lay in bed, the moonlight touched his face. His eyes closed gently, and for the first time in a long while his dreams were peaceful. Somewhere deep inside he knew he had finally done something truly right. A week passed before Lily returned. She had been busy chasing her plans, talking to investors, and worrying about deadlines. But somewhere deep inside she still waited for her father's answer. She thought he would call, maybe send her the money like he always gave in to her requests before. But the silence stretched too long, and finally impatience brought her back. That afternoon she parked her car in front of the small house again. The garden looked the same, quiet, simple, full of flowers he had planted. The air smelled of jasmine, and a strange stillness filled the air. She walked to the door and noticed a small paper stuck near the handle. It was folded carefully, her father's shaky handwriting on top. Her name, Lily. Her heart skipped a beat. She quickly pulled it off and opened it. "My dear Lily, I wanted to help you, but not with money. I wanted to help you see that love is not about what we take. It's about what we give. I hope one day you'll understand. Dad. Lily read the words again and again. Her throat tightened. Something felt wrong. She rushed inside. The house was neat, cleaner than before, but strangely empty. Some of his things were missing. The old wooden box where he kept his papers, a few clothes, his wallet. The house felt hollow, like someone had gently taken the life out of it. Dad? She called softly, her voice trembling. Dad, where are you? Only silence answered her. She sat down on the sofa, her hands shaking. The realization crept in slowly, painfully. He had done something she didn't expect. Her eyes fell on the small open drawer by the table. Inside she found his old bank book, the pages blank. The balance read 0. For a moment she couldn't breathe. Her mind spun. No, he didn't, she whispered. She rushed outside to find the neighbor, Mrs. Adams, who had always known her father well. The old woman came to the gate, worry in her eyes. Lily, dear, you're here, she said softly. Where's my father? Lily asked quickly, her voice trembling. What did he do? Mrs. Adams sighed and gently placed a hand on Lily's arm. He went to the orphanage last week. He gave away all his savings to help those children. He said he didn't need it anymore, that it was better used for someone who still had dreams. Lily's eyes widened, tears instantly filling them. He gave it all away? Mrs. Adams nodded. Yes, dear. Every penny. The children love him. They call him Grandpa John now. He spends some time there every day. You should go see him. Lily didn't wait another second. She ran to her car, tears blurring her vision. Her heart pounded painfully in her chest. She had come expecting money, but now she was chasing something far more important: forgiveness. When she reached the orphanage, she saw a small group of children playing outside. Their laughter filled the air. In the middle of them sat her father, wearing his old sweater, smiling as he showed two little girls how to paint. His hands were steady, his eyes full of gentle light. Lily stopped at the gate, unable to move. For the first time, she saw him not as the weak old man she had called useless, but as someone far stronger than she had ever been. A man who still had the power to give love even when his heart had been broken. One of the children ran up to her. Are you the lady Mr. John talks about? He says he has a daughter who's very smart. Lily's throat closed. Yes, she whispered. I'm his daughter. The little boy grinned. He loves you very much. He said you'll come one day. Her tears finally fell freely. She walked toward him slowly. When John looked up and saw her, surprise flickered in his eyes, followed by the softest smile. Lily, he said, his voice calm and warm. You came. She couldn't speak. She just knelt beside him, tears streaming down her face. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't understand. I said such terrible things to you. John touched her cheek gently, his wrinkled hand trembling. It's all right, my dear. Sometimes love has to hurt before it teaches. Lily wept quietly as the children gathered around them, confused but smiling. In that moment she realized what true strength was. Not in money, not in success, but in her father's heart, which had never stopped loving her even when she had broken it. The sound of laughter and the fading sunlight surrounded them. For the first time in a long while, Lily didn't feel empty. She felt small, humbled, and deeply loved. She whispered, You gave away your savings, but you gave me something far more precious, and you gave me back my heart. And John smiled softly, holding her close, as the world outside seemed to grow brighter again. The days that followed were filled with quiet healing. Lily started visiting the orphanage every morning. At first, she just sat beside her father, watching him laugh with the children. Slowly, she began to join in, helping them read, drawing with them, and cooking small meals. Each day, her heart grew lighter, as if all the pain and pride she once carried were slowly melting away. John never spoke about the insult again. He didn't need to. His silence carried forgiveness far deeper than any words could, and Lily, every time she looked at him, felt both guilt and gratitude. Her father was not weak. He was strong in ways she had never understood before. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in soft orange light, John sat on a wooden bench under a tree. Lily sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. The laughter of children echoed around them. "Dad," she said softly, "I used to think success was everything. I thought money could fix life. But when you walked away, I realized how poor I really was. Poor in love, poor in understanding." John smiled faintly, his eyes fixed on the sunset. "We all learn, Lily. Sometimes the lessons come when we lose something we thought we needed. But look at you now. I can see peace in your eyes again." Lily held his hand tightly. "Because of you. You showed me what real love means. I don't deserve your kindness, Dad." He chuckled gently. "A parent's love isn't about deserving, my dear. It's just there. Always." Tears welled up in her eyes again, but this time they were warm and grateful, not painful. Over the next few weeks, Lily helped the orphanage raise funds using her business skills. For the first time, her knowledge served something good. The orphanage expanded, the children got new books, and the smiles grew brighter. John watched her proudly, his heart full, but quietly he began to feel tired. His steps slowed. His laughter, though still bright, sometimes came with a soft cough. He didn't tell Lily. He didn't want to worry her. One morning, Lily arrived to find the children gathered silently near the tree. Her heart sank. John sat on the bench looking peaceful, his eyes closed as if asleep. In his hand was a folded letter addressed to her. Her breath caught. "Dad?" she whispered, touching his shoulder. But there was no response. Her knees went weak. She sat beside him, tears falling freely as she opened the letter. "My dearest Lily, don't cry for me. I've had a full life, and the last weeks were the happiest of all, because you came back. You gave me the one thing I always wished for, your love. Take care of the children. Keep spreading kindness. That will be my greatest legacy. Not money, not work, but love passed through you. You made me proud, my little girl. Love always, Dad." Her sobs broke the quiet air. The children hugged her, their small arms wrapping around her as if to share her pain. She held the letter to her chest, whispering, "I love you, Dad. I love you so much." In the days that followed, Lily continued her father's work. She moved into the small house near the orphanage and ran her company remotely. But now her purpose was different. Every profit went toward helping children, building homes, and spreading hope, just as her father would have wanted. People began to know her not just as a businesswoman, but as John's daughter, the woman who carried her father's love into the world. Every evening, she would sit under that same tree where he had rested for the last time. The sunset still painted the sky in warm colors, and the wind always seemed to whisper softly through the leaves, a voice she could still hear saying, "I'm proud of you." One day, a little girl from the orphanage came running to her, holding a crayon drawing. It showed a man and a woman holding hands surrounded by children. Above it were 3 simple words, "Love never dies." Lily smiled through her tears. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "You were right, Dad. Love really never dies." As the sun disappeared beyond the horizon, she felt something gentle inside her. Peace. The kind her father had always carried, and in that quiet glow, Lily knew that even though her father was gone, his love would live forever, in her heart, in every smile she inspired, and in every child who found hope because of him. Because sometimes, the most powerful answer to an insult isn't anger, it's love that refuses to fade.